Hello everyone, Jerry Tabatt with you. Another edition of our military community, and we continue our series this week where we talk to representatives of Gulf Coast State College and all the things that this college does for the military and things that are good for the students and some bad things for the students and ways that they can get the financial help they need. Well, today we've got a great interview scheduled for you. I have Mr. Dunkin Mclane, who is the Assistant Director of Gulf Coast State College Foundation, which a lot of people don't know about. Dunkin, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it. The Gulf Coast State Foundation, the State College Foundation, there's a lot of things there's good things, there's bad things, but things we need to know. But before we get into this and explain how it all works and how it deals with the military, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for having me on. And on behalf of the foundation, we certainly appreciate everything that you're doing for the military community. And I would like to express my appreciation to your viewers, especially active duty, veterans, retired military of our family. I want to thank them for their service to our country. So thank you very much. I am the Assistant Director of the foundation, and one of my duties is overseeing the scholarship program for the foundation. Currently, we have about 350 endowments, which produce over 700 scholarship opportunities. So under my department, we administer the application process. We select our students, and one of the fun parts about my job is we get to award over $1 million in scholarships to help our students.
That's every year?
Every year, yes, sir.
Wow, that's good.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're going to get into all of this, but first of all, what actually is the foundation? What does it do? And how do you get the funding for that? You talked about endowments. A lot of people say an endowment. What is an endowment? So how is that funding set up?
Jerry, that's a great question. The foundation is a nonprofit organization. We are a 501c3. We are here because the college is here. And what we do is we take donations from the community and we invest that money. Then we turn around and give that money back out to the students and faculty here at Gulf Coast State College. Without the college, we wouldn't exist. So we are happy to be the fundraising arm of the college. And in what I do in my department, it's fun because I get to collect the money coming in and I get to give it back out in the form of scholarship and program support. 65 to 70% of our spending each and every year goes towards scholarships for our students attending Gulf Coast, and about 35-40% go to program support, which is buying tables or buying computers or buying books and helping different departments around campus. So without the community support, without our community donors, we would not be successful.
And that kind of leads me into my next question here too, Dunkin, is the community people, I mean, you probably got businesses, individuals, corporations, whatever, that give to this, but are they once they give you that donation, do they become actively involved with the foundation itself and do leadership activities and things like that for the foundation?
That's a great question, Jerry. Sometimes our donors are active. Our foundation is governed by a board of directors, and these are community members from Bay, Gulf, and Franklin County who want to help the foundation grow and who have an active part in running the foundation. We also have active donors, and we ask them to not only contribute to the foundation, but act as spokespeople out there for them to look for students who are in need, and also find other donors who have the same likes that they have.
Now, this is something that's really good, and we're going to get into a lot of things about the military here in a few minutes. But first of all, just a brief overview of the foundation itself. What kind of scholarships are available? What's the eligibility requirements? Is there certain dates that have to be applied? All of those good things.
Sure, we'll tackle those one area at a time. Those are great questions. Our foundation has about $37 million that we invest every year, and then we take those investments, and from that we have a scholarship and program support budget that we use. So we have a defined budget that we have each and every year. Our focus of our foundation is to help Gulf Coast State College. We don't go to any other nonprofits out in the community, even though we would like to help.
Sure.
We focus solely on the college. And so what we do is we take those funds each year, we budget them out, and then we decide what areas are we going to help. And traditionally, since 1967, when we were formed, our focus has been mainly on scholarships for students that are attending Gulf Coast. Our scholarships are supplemental in nature. They're not meant to cover a student's full tuition or books. They're merely to help them offset the cost of their education. This year, our scholarship awards were $1,400. We broke those up into $700 a semester. To put it in layman's terms, if you wanted to take 12 hours at Gulf Coast and your tuition bill is what it is, I will be giving you a 50% discount coupon to help offset the cost of your tuition. So I want your viewers to know that scholarships are out there. We want to help. We give discounts for the tuition. So what we're trying to do is to encourage everyone to attend Gulf Coast and know that there's help out there in all different areas, including the military.
And that's the big thing too, Duncan. A lot of people who say, well, okay, Gulf Coast State College, they got a foundation, I'm not eligible for it, I guess I won't worry about it. But if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Jerry, that is correct. I like to tell everybody that 100% of the applicants who don't apply will not receive a scholarship. So it takes that first step, which is to apply for our scholarships. Now, we do have some requirements. First of all, you must have applied and been accepted into Gulf Coast. That's number one. Number two is you have to have an active student ID number and an active Gulf Coast email. Once you have all of those, then you can qualify to apply for scholarships. And we have one application cycle a year, and that's from December 1st to March 15th. So I am so happy that I've been invited on your show during our application period, because I want to make sure your viewers know that the opportunities are there. Now is the time to apply, and have any questions, we're here to help. But that's why we exist, Jerry, is to help the students.
Now, these different... Explain the difference between a grant and an actual scholarship.
Okay, I keep saying this, but you're asking great questions. We break down scholarships into whether they are permanent or whether they are here temporarily, or whether they're here for a certain period of time. When we talk about endowed scholarships, to the layperson, that means that scholarship will be here every year that the foundation is in existence. We have 350 of those that produce those large number of opportunities. They are going to be here every year that the foundation is in business. Now, we do have some funds that are temporary in nature. So we have a donor that puts in $500, wants to help 5 students, say at $100. Well, then we spend that money and that fund is gone. So it's temporary in nature. The donor is happy because they're helping students. The students are happy because they're getting some kind of an award out of it. So we have permanent, we have temporary. Grants are temporary in nature too. Usually they are focused on a particular department or particular students in a department. The foundation over the last 8 to 10 years has been lucky to have a grant from the Edward K. Roberts Foundation in Sarasota. That foundation wants to target TRIO students. So we have a grant where those students that are selected receive a grant from that foundation. So hopefully that'll explain it a little bit to the students, to your viewers.
Okay, let's say I get a scholarship from the foundation. if I continue the line of studies that I'm in, do I have to apply for that every year?
Our scholarships are good for 1 year, and they're good for the fall and spring semesters. So if you are awarded a scholarship, we're in the application cycle now, and you're selected, you're only going to get that award for the fall and the spring. You always have to reapply for our scholarships year after year. That is something that some students don't remember, and they think the scholarship is for the whole length of their time at Gulf Coast, and they miss out on opportunities because they don't call or they don't ask that question.
Yeah. Now, let's get into the military aspect of this, Duncan. There's a lot of different things. First of all, I want to personally, as an Air Force veteran, thank Gulf Coast for being so supportive of our military. They're getting all these awards and everything that are so richly deserved. And again, it really makes us veterans feel like people are really concerned about us. The military themselves, when you talk active duty or retired, disabled, spouses, children, there's all kinds of different things. First of all, let's talk about an active duty military man. Say he's stationed either Navy base, doesn't make any difference, or Tyndall. And they have a course they want to take here.
Yes.
Are their steps the same as someone else just from the civilian community that applies, or do they have to have certain things?
No, that we treat everybody in our Gulf Coast family the same. So if an active duty member of the military wants to take 3 or more credit hours, then they can apply for our scholarships, and we're happy to help if they are selected for a scholarship. Our application process is free of charge, so it doesn't cost an active duty member anything to apply, but it would help supplement the cost of that tuition on top of
now,
that.
Does an active duty military individual, Duncan, do they have to have the same requirements like a college email, those accounts that actually be enrolled and things like that?
Yes, sir, they do. They have to go through everything, the steps that a normal college student has to go through. And we're lucky because the college has a branch office out on Tyndall Air Force Base, for instance, that Steve and Greta man, and they are great about counseling individuals who are interested in going to Gulf Coast, maybe recommending classes, setting them up, registering for that. The missing piece to the puzzle is working with us in order to apply for a scholarship.
Well, one thing, as a veteran, we don't want things just handed to us. We want things that we feel we've earned.
Yes, sir.
How do you let the individuals out there, the veterans, being active duty or retired, know, Duncan, that they have earned these educational benefits, and how do they go about attaining them? Because like I said, we don't want stuff we haven't earned. But if we've earned it, we need to have that available to us.
All of our recipients for scholarships have earned it. Just by merely extending the education opportunity, their educational opportunities, just merely by going to class, they have earned it. And that's the way we want to look at it, especially our military family members. We want to make sure they've defended our country. We're happy for everything they've done for us. We want to help them as much as we can. We traditionally follow just the basic standard easy rules. We're not going to give anybody anything. Ask any one of our scholarship applicants every year about our application process, and they're going to tell you they've earned it. And the reason is we have more applications than we have slots. Sure. And so what we do on our application is we ask 2 essay questions. And those answers to those essays are scored, whether you're in the military, whether you're just a student, whether you want an AA degree seeking, whatever. And all of our applicants, Jerry, will tell you that they have earned it just by merely answering those 2 essay questions. So we don't want to give anything away. We are appreciative of what our active duty, what our military family members have done. We are fortunate that we have donors out in the community who have set up scholarships that are particularly for our military family. Most of our scholarships are general in nature. Everybody in the military is welcome to apply for those opportunities. Most of the time the donor tells us just pick a student as a 2.0 GPA or higher. So that opens it up to everybody,
right,
including our military group. We also have a number of community members that want to help our military students. And they have charged the foundation with finding a student who qualifies in that area. Active duty, spouses and dependents. We have a couple of National Guard. So getting back to your original question, I would say our applicants say they've earned it. And we want to let them know that just merely by extending their education, we think they've earned it.
Now, that takes care of our active duty and our retired, but you brought up something too, Duncan, that is very, very important. As a military individual, if our spouse or our child wants to go to college too, we want to be able to get the help that they need also, because let's face it, you don't make a lot of money in the military, and college is expensive, which, you know, it's good things or bad things. We ain't going to get into that. But how does a military spouse, become eligible? Does she follow the same guidelines that the active duty member has to do?
Sure does. They sure do, or the spouse does. Everybody that applies for our scholarships have to follow the same steps. And, you know, the foundation has a long-standing policy of we don't select, we don't discriminate, we don't do anything. We treat all of our applicants the same. They're all students attending Gulf Coast. All we have to do is get the information to that student on how to apply for our scholarships. We do, getting back to our selected scholarships that we do have, we had some donors that came to us and said, I want to permanently endow a scholarship, but I want you to select a spouse or dependent of military active duty or veteran or retired. So there's one or two opportunities that we have that we do select based on a focused group. But I also want to just make sure that all of our scholarships are open. So everybody has an opportunity to do that too.
Now, of course, the child or the children, they have to be old enough to go to college to apply for these, right?
Yes, sir, they do. And that's why the application and acceptance into Gulf Coast is very important, because unfortunately, we're not going to help the high school students or the dual enrolled or individuals that are in that area. But once they have graduated from high school, and once they have committed to Gulf Coast to be part of our Gulf Coast family, then they are eligible to apply for our scholarships.
Now, one thing we need to talk about, because let's face it, in the military, we never know. We can be hot, dumb, and happy today. Tomorrow we go to work and your supervisor says, Sarge, guess what? You had orders. You're leaving in 2 weeks. But I have a scholarship at Gulf Coast. I don't care, you're leaving. What happens? Does that scholarship have to be paid back? Because that's something that's always in the back of our mind, you know?
Sure it is. No, it does not have to be paid back. We are giving our recipients a chance to continue their education. And we understand that our recipients come across situations in their life that are beyond their control. We don't ask those students to pay it back. In many cases, they don't have that option. We don't want to put the burden on them any more than they already have. So to answer your question, in that case, we would just accept their reasoning and we would move on. We're happy to have them as recipients, but we understand.
What are some specific things that being with the foundation and as knowledgeable as you are, Duncan, what are some of the things that the military, not only active duty, retired, but the spouses and the eligible kids, what are some of the things that they're actually applying to get scholarships for the courses here at Gulf Coast?
Well, to put it simply, since we are supplemental in nature, we are just going to cover a portion of their tuition and books. We understand that our recipients come from all backgrounds as far as what their educational goals and endeavors are going to be. We help scholarship. You may have a student who's in the digital media program. You may have one that's in accounting. You may have one that loves arts or situations like that. Or you may have program participants in TRIO or one of our many programs. And that's fine. That's what our general scholarships are here to do, is to help that student with their studies, no matter what their majors are going to be. All we ask is they take 3 or more hours each semester and that they are students in good standing. We don't want to hold anybody back, or we don't want to put any restrictions. Along those same notes, sometimes we have recipients who start out in the accounting field and then want to change their major in the middle of a semester and maybe go into nursing. That is fine. They've earned that scholarship, and it's perfectly okay with us, and we're happy to help.
Good deal on that. One of the other things that a lot of people don't understand is they think that, okay, I'm getting a scholarship for $1,400 from the Gulf Coast State College Foundation, but yet I'm going to be getting financial aid from some other institutions. Can those be combined, and is there any penalty in there? Because sometimes if you're getting X amount of dollars here, we're going to take this X amount of dollars away from this.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That is something that we try to educate all of our recipients on. Our scholarships are stackable, which means they can be used with other forms of financial aid without penalty at all.
Okay.
So if a student is fortunate enough, especially in the high school ranks where they have Bright Futures or college prepaid, or they have military assistance, or they have financial aid Pell Grants, our scholarships still can be used to help offset the cost of their tuition. We are not going to penalize any student or any one of our recipients because they have sought other forms of financial aid. We applaud that, as a matter of fact.
And that clears up a lot of questions, because some people just don't understand that once you have that 90% of the time, you're not going to have to worry about that. That's your scholarship right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This selection process, I want to get into that just a little bit too, because I come to you as a military veteran and I apply for a scholarship. Mm-hmm. How do you determine whether or not I'm eligible for that particular scholarship?
That area is in our selection of applicants each and every year. Between December 1st and March 15th, we're asking the students of Gulf Coast to apply for our scholarships. And once they have applied, on March 16th, we have a selection committee that reviews all of our applications. And the selection committee is made up of faculty and staff of Gulf Coast. And they review every application we have that we've accepted between those time periods. They look at the answers to the essay questions, they score them, and then we simply rank the applicants from the highest score down to the lowest, and we start awarding scholarships until we run out of money. So scholarship application process, in essence, is competitive in nature, but it's not overly competitive. We want to make sure, like you had mentioned earlier, we want to make sure our recipients work a little bit for them, and by answering the essays, that's our best way to do it. The questions are not overly complicated. The college has a writing and reading lab here on campus, free of charge to everyone, community and to the public, and they will review answers to our scholarship questions for anybody that walks in. And it is a great resource, and I encourage all of your viewers who are applying for our scholarships to make sure they use that resource, because they'll check grammar, they'll check punctuation, they'll check content. Sometimes the best written answers to an essay are in one paragraph, and you don't have to write a War and Peace novel.
Right.
And we want all of our applicants to tell a story about themselves, because you want to make sure that the reviewer looks at your application and thinks in their mind, this is a deserving student. We mean talking about military background, talking about family background, anything you want to let the scorer know more about you.
One other thing, that it could be military or actually civilian applying for these grants, and it's a curious question, I guess, that I have too. is this data, when it's compiled and you grant it, the individual the money, how can we be assured you're not sharing that with 100 different agencies? You got the student data that can really go out of whack here. But there's one thing that I want to see, and I underline this to make sure. It's called the Family and Educational Rights in Private Act of 1974. Does that actually protect me from you giving my information to somebody else?
Yes, sir. To some extent. The FERPA laws are better handled through the college, but the way I can best explain it to your viewers is once you become a member of the Gulf Coast family, a lot of a student's information is confidential. What's your major? What's your GPA? How many hours you're taking? Information like that is protected under the FERPA rights, and we can't release that information. I have a donor or donors that would call and say, "How's my recipient doing?" Well, we have to tell the donor, "I'm sorry, but I can't give that information to you." Now, what we do for our applicants, and this is to help the community, on our application, we will ask our applicants to authorize us to use maybe the answers to their essay questions so we can use them in promotional materials or things of that nature. But a student's data is protected. We do not release that. No matter who asks us, we just won't simply release that information except anything that would help promote the foundation, us out in the community.
Because Gulf Coast is so supportive of our military and everything, what is the response from the military veterans themselves when they work with you and you get that scholarship for them? How do they feel?
Well, it's heartwarming in a lot of areas because, Jerry, to have a scholarship means that you are being released from the burden of having to pay your education, and that's one of the good parts of my job is to see the joy that's on their face when they receive a scholarship from us or receive other kind of assistance that the foundation provides. It's heartwarming because now they can use that money to offset the cost of daycare or off the cost of travel or to do whatever they want to do with it. We're taking that burden, we're taking that money, and we're saying use other resources to buy what you want to buy.
Yeah. We're about to run out of time here. We got 2 minutes. I'm going to give you a minute here for your final thoughts, Duncan, and is it worth it?
Yes, it is worth it, Jerry. Our application process is free of charge, so it doesn't cost anybody to apply. The rewards are great if you get a scholarship. When I was growing up, I always thought scholarships were for the smart kids in my group. I always thought you had to make a 4.0, you had to be smart, and the word scholarship just meant I was left out of that group. Scholarships to the foundation, we like to refer them as dollarships. They are open to all of our students with a 2.0 GPA of 2.0 or higher. If you don't apply, you won't have a chance to get an application. In closing, we can't thank you enough for getting us to your viewers out there and letting everybody know that we have those opportunities.
We as veterans appreciate that. And like I said, Gulf Coast has been awarded military honors and everything for the way you take care of our military. A lot of information today. We could have gone on. We could go for another hour or so. Maybe I can talk Seth into letting us go an hour. But again, thank you so much for what you do for the veterans, and we'll keep posted on what's happening over there.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it. Thank
Dunkin Mclane, who's the Assistant Director, Gulf Coast State College Foundation. About ready to wrap things up here, but I do want to reiterate one more time that if you think you have a question or if you have questions about the scholarships, especially for our military veterans listening out there, be it spouses, active duty, retired, or whatever, go and give those folks a call or just drop by the campus and see them, because if you don't ask, you're not going to know a lot of different things. And remember, your buddy may be a good guy, but he's not the expert. So go to the experts, talk to them, and remember, Gulf Coast State College is on your side, and they take care of our military. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jerry Tabatt with this edition of our Military Community.